Um, I want to just begin with a little simple housekeeping, and I want really more than anything just to let you know how welcome you are to be in this beautiful sanctuary. In fact, I invite you to take a moment just to look around and appreciate. I think there's a song by Paul Simon where he talks about the angels in the architecture. We've got gargoyles in the architecture, but still, how many churches have stained glass windows and the kind of just spaciousness and beauty that this place has? For the very few of you who may not know, I'm Rob Peck, and I'm delighted to be your worship host. No matter what you believe, who you love, or your background and circumstances, please know you are dearly welcome in this place. We have the joy of coming together, and we want to make sure that everyone feels welcome. So here's a little fun twist, keeping of this service, a little Motown twist on our usual greeting ritual. I still invite people to stand and greet, shake, a hug, a nod, the people around you. But I would invite you to look deeply into someone's eyes and to say either or both of the following. You're like sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, you're like the month of May. So please have fun with each other, greet each other, and if you feel it, put a little temptations into your greeting.
It's cold outside. You've got the month of May. I can't tell if I'm muted or not. Guess I know.
I think it puts a little icon there. So where are you? You're right here. You're not muted.
How do I mute?
Right there. Hit mute.
I did. And what does this do?
Oh, if you X out the video, they can't see you. There's your audio there if you want to X that, maybe. But we can't hear we can't hear Rob.
Well, I guess you'll say, what can make us feel this way? And with any luck, it's because we are all here in a space that, while it is cold outside, can turn it into the month of May. I say this as the father of a daughter who was born in the month of May. And every time I hear that part of the song, my brain goes right to my girl, talking about my girl. All right, if you don't want to hear me keep singing, your best and safest thing to do is to sit back down. Greatest form of crowd control ever, the threat of my vocals. I want to also acknowledge my friend, my housemate, in many ways feels like my little brother Clay, taking care of all the sound and other stuff. And Clay, can you just let us know, are there anybody else joining us on Zoom?
Sure, we have Gary and Christy. With Gary and Christy, we have Andy Head, Christy G, Joan Pillsbury, Link, Bria, Matthew, Owen, Reggie, Rick, Robin, and Trudy.
Well, thank you. That's a little bit of a cast. That's a blast from my past. So please know, on Zoom land, I am really touched that you're here to join us this morning. Honestly means a lot to me. On a practical note, you'll find listed in your order of worship several important announcements about upcoming activities at All Souls. And if this is your first visit here, please sign our guest book in the narthex. If you don't know what a narthex is, that's the part in the front entrance. So we can keep you posted with our weekly newsletter. And you can also find information in the pamphlets that are right in front of you in your pews, along with the gray hymnal, which we'll be using several times during the service. And finally, and possibly most importantly, even when the service ends, we're not done. We're going to have time to congregate over food, the best form of socializing after a service. You're all welcome, whether you brought anything or not, to stay and join us for a potluck. And if you can't stay, that's fine too. More food for me. Okay, enough announcements, enough of all the busyness of life. Here's a moment to pause, to let go of our to-do lists and take time to be here now. I invite you to sit back, close your eyes, and together co-create a sacred space of stillness and serenity. To allow our steady heartbeat to hold us in this moment and help our brain arrive and our spirits align. Breathing in deeply, I ease my mind. Breathing out slowly, I smile softly. Breathing in calm and collected, breathing out centered and connected. Breathing in deeply, I relax. Breathing out slowly, I release. Breathing in, grounded and grateful. Breathing out, glad and graceful. Breathing in deeply, I am present. Breathing out slowly, I am at peace. Be here now. May Ram Dass prayer be a passport to Brian's soulful prelude.
He's playing, but I just gave the soup kitchen $25.
Gary C., you're messing up the whole service. Please mute.
I'd love to mute, but I'm unable to mute. I don't know why.
Well, we can't hear the service. We only hear you.
That's funny. I have a mute button, and I press the mute button, nothing happens. I've got 3 dots next to it. Oh, hang on a minute.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you. I'd like to invite my friend Mary Rose. She has no idea I'm doing this, but would you be willing to light the chalice for us? Yeah. This little light divine, please, Spirit, let it shine. This shining spark sublime, beacon of all humankind. This little light of thine, his, hers, yours, and mine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Can you all please read responsively with me in our congregational covenant? I'll kick it off by saying in this house, and then if you can join me from there, and please say it with gusto. In this house, we covenant with one another to build our connections on a foundation of love, hope, and faith, to accept responsibility for our individual acts and work together to promote equality, justice, and peace, to stand on the side of love, embracing the liberation of the oppressed and championing all movements to end discrimination, to communicate with kindness and support, to serve with compassion and commitment, to listen respectfully with an open mind and value our diversity as a source of our communal strength, to learn together and grow together, generously sharing our time, talents, and treasures, to celebrate the joys of discovery, embracing the fullest measure of our humanity, from the wonder of youth to the wisdom of age, to openly share our laughter and our tears, showing reverence for the divine in all that is. You are already sharing just by being here. It would be an additional generosity if, when we collect the offering, you can contribute and help us keep the lights on and the heats up in this big sanctuary. And to inspire your generosity, Brian is going to perform a feat of musical virtuosity. And I'm pretty sure not only play the piano and the trumpet, but at one point do both at the same time. Yeah, you got this one. Riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Side. Oh, no more. Oh, no more. You won't study. Oh, no more. Amen. I want to preface my sermon in 3 acts with 2 timely observations. Number 1, today marks the 3rd night of the African holidays of Kwanzaa and celebrates the principle of Ujima, which emphasizes building and maintaining community together, sharing the joys and the burdens of all of us showing up, being here, and really caring for each other. Secondly, as anyone who's presided at the pulpit can attest, it's a lot of responsibility. But when I realized that for all the ways that it's pressure, there's even more ways that it's a privilege. That reframe helps me shift from, I have to write a sermon, to, I get to give a sermon, and you get to take a nap. Hey, it's a win-win all around. I begin my tale of imperfection by invoking the gentle grace of a 7-year-old girl named Maria, who whenever I messed up, made a wrong turn, overfilled her juice glass, or knocked her toy off the table, would always tell me, "That's okay, Rob. I know you didn't do it on perfect." I wasn't born a bigot. I grew up in a nice Jewish family and spent my formative years in the lily-white suburb of Englewood, New Jersey. From the time I was a toddler, I could tell anyone my age, years and number of months, and my street address, 291 Windsor Road. When I turned 5, my daddy told me I could go sledding on my own at the nearby junior high. After a couple rides, I spotted 3 boys who didn't have sleds standing at the top of the hill. I'd never seen them before, and I'd never seen skins so dark. I asked if they were new to the neighborhood. The tallest nodded and asked, "You live on this block?" "No, I live at 291 Windsor Road." "Hey, this hill is really fast. You can borrow my sled. It's really fun." The tall one lit up and took off. As soon as he got back, the second tallest took a turn, and after him, the shortest gripped the sled. The second he returned, the tallest took a second ride. It was getting dark, and I'd hoped for a couple more rides myself before I had to go home. But none of these boys had sleds, so 2 rides each seemed only fair. When the shortest boy got back to the top for the second time, I said, "I'd like my sled back now." The tallest cut me off and snarled, "What you mean, your sled? This here's our sled now." The second tallest laughed at me and said, "Finders keepers, losers weepers. You didn't find it. I let you borrow it, and now you need to give it back." The shortest shoved me to the ground. I bounced back up and socked him in the stomach. The second tallest kicked my leg out from under me, and the tallest sat on my stomach and pinned my arms to the ground. The shortest said, "Make Whitey cry, Uncle." When I refused, the second tallest force-fed me a fistful of snow. The shortest shouted, "Honky, make the sissy honky cry, Uncle." I shook my head. The tallest started tightening his long fingers around my throat. When I could barely breathe, I mumbled, Uncle. The second tallest jerked me back to my feet. I told him, I'm going to tell my daddy what you did, and you're going to be in big trouble. The shortest asked, where your daddy be at? He's at home. You mean that house on 291 where you used to live? That's our home now. 291 Windsor Road. You want to find your daddy, you best know your new address. My brain exploded. No sled, no home, no hope. Geez, I'm Francis Crowe. I'm not even in first grade and I'm having an existential crisis. A police car pulls up. The black kids scatter. I grab my sled and hug it. The cop can see I'm a little roughed up and offers me a lift. Where to? Officer, the only address I know is 291 Windsor Road, but I'm afraid to go there because the boys that beat me up say they live there now. That's so. Let's go have a look. When we get to what used to be my house, everything looks just like I remember. The kind cop walks me to the front door and rings the bell. When the door opens and my daddy looks at me, I burst into tears. Those black kids trying to steal my sled made me feel violated. Weeks went by and I couldn't shake the trauma of being targeted for my skin color. Decades later, I'd realized that for as many times as I felt unjustly persecuted, there's far more that I've been unfairly privileged. But try telling me that when I was 5, let alone 4 years later on the playground, when my best friend Charles and I were playing a tough team from the other side of the tracks. Their star fullback, Billy Hands, caught a pass inside our 20 and sprinted for the end zone. 2 yards from the goalpost, Charles bumped him out of bounds. Billy ignored him, jumped over the goal line, spiked the football, and shouted, touchdown! Charles said, no way. Billy shoves him in the back. I recall the boys who tried to steal my sled and get a knot in my stomach. Billy knocks Charles to the ground and cocks his fist. I start to rush in, but Billy's clenched fist stops me. Charles gets up and they tussle. Billy outweighs him by a good 20 pounds and hurls him off his feet. I know I should jump in, but fear has me by the balls. Charles bounds up unafraid and tackles Billy. They roll on the ground and wrestle. I'm sure he's going to get him in a headlock and make the mean black boy cry, Uncle. But a swift uppercut from Billy turns the fight into a boxing match. Charles is a good wrestler, but he's got no clue how to dodge punches. And Billy's came at him with speed and power. When blood spurted from my friend's mouth, I started forward. My mind flashes on the tall black kid who stuffs snow down my mouth, and I freeze. Billy throws a haymaker that knocks Charles off his feet. I hope he stays down and the fight ends. Billy baits him. Charles pulls himself up and gamely throws a punch. Billy bats it away and lands a series of blows that draw more blood. I know I have to jump in, but my feet are cemented in fear. I stand there, stock still, petrified, while Billy beats my best friend to a bloody pulp. I never lift a fist. Charles refuses to quit until finally an adult breaks up the fight. I help Charles home, and after some medical attention, he makes a full recovery. I never do. I can't stop seeing Billy Hand's fist smash Charles's face. And I can't forgive myself for not moving a muscle to help him. My best friend. And I was too chicken to stick up for him. I just stood there like a paralyzed zombie. I was, and I am, so ashamed. It's been 60 years, and my cowardice still haunts me. Not being brave when my buddy needed me is a mark of shame I may never cleanse. But at least if I can own it, maybe confession will be good for the soul. And hey, I am in the pulpit, and we are an All Souls church. Back then, I didn't breathe a word of it. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. Of course, as a Jew, confession wasn't an option anyway. The only outlet for my guilt was to blame Billy and find a way to make it his fault, not mine. It was a lot easier than acknowledging my cowardice to roundly accuse the bully and vilify Billy for being a brutal villain. As an adolescent, I had no clue that prejudice is a kind of double negative alchemy that turns hurt and ignorance into hate and fear. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I recognized racism is a reciprocal diminishment, a lose-lose circular degradation where the more I demonize the other, the more I dehumanize myself. To the sorry state that in 6th grade, when the principal of Grover Cleveland Elementary told us we were going to be an integrated school and a busload full of black kids was set to show up the following Monday, I took direct and decisive action. I picketed. I was so determined to protest busing, I even went door to door with a handmade petition asking neighbors to help us, quote, block the chocolates and keep our school pure vanilla. My bigoted stance was strictly based on generalizations. The only black kids I knew were bullies who picked on me or beat up my friend. In Racism 101, 2 wrongs do make a white, forsaken conclusion. My binary brain's black and white thinking was soon to be tested. The instructor was a fellow 5th grader named Dennis Tinsley, a new black student who'd found out I was the fastest kid in school and challenged me to a race. Nobody beaten me in 5 years. Undefeated, I was undaunted. Sure, Dennis was a lot larger, but he had ratty sneaks, spoke messed up English, had kinky hair, and the same nylon my mom wore on her legs was stuck to his scalp. I looked in his eyes, and I could see nothing of myself. My brain saw it all in black and white. This chump wasn't one of ours. He was one of theirs. He wasn't an us. He was a them. We lined up for the 100-yard dash from the big oak tree to the jungle gym at the other end of the playground. Just before we took our marks, Dennis disarmed me with an easy smile and a strange warning. Boy, you best remember these words from the great Negro League pitcher Satchel Paige. Don't never look back. You never know when something might be gaining on you. If only I knew about UU back then, I would have said a Unitarian prayer and sang hymn number 348, Guide My Feet. How's that for a segue, Brian? You'll find it, hymn number 348 in your hymnals. Please join us. run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. I don't want to run this race alone. All together. Guide my feet while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. But I don't want to run this race in vain. Dennis and I stood side by side. The starter told us to take our places and said, "On your mark, get set, go." My feet tore off the starting line, and I pumped my legs and arms as fast as I could fly. 20 yards passed with no sound of another footstep. I glanced over my right shoulder. Dennis hadn't taken a step. Flashing a grin like Magic Johnson after a dazzling no-look pass, he cried, "I done told you not to look back." He took off like a pro sprinter. His floppy sneaks pounded the ground, kicking up so much dirt. It was like I was racing the cartoon Roadrunner in the real life. I jerked my head around and ran for all I was worth. 25 yards from the jungle gym, I heard him behind me. 20 strides later, we were dead even. Then he sprinted ahead. I couldn't believe he'd given me such a huge lead and was beating me by 15 feet. When I reached the finish line, I stuck out my hand to give him a congratulatory shake. Dennis shot me another magic smile, shook his head, and told me, "Give me 5." I hadn't thought there were any stakes to the race. But I pulled out the money my dad had given me for the school lunch and said, "Sorry, all I got is $2. Dennis grinned, "Boy, I'm about to cup your head. I ain't asking for no money. Just give me some skin." Skin? Uh-oh, this is worse than I thought. Flummoxed, I fished in my pocket for my penknife and asked, "How much flesh do you want me to scrape off?" Dennis's grin dissolved into a raucous cackle. Then he gave the back of my head a little tap and told me, "Brother, you keep this up and you're going to be my main man." My bifurcated black and white brain was flabbergasted. How could a black boy make me a man, and why does he think we're brothers? Dennis had no doubts. "Let me tell you what I know. For a white boy, you got you some soul." I shot a nervous glance at the bottom of my sneaker. Dennis chortled, draped his arm around me and said, "Boy, you're so funny. I'ma have to make you my new main man." Somehow, the warmth of his touch made me feel like I could be a boy and a man at the same time. He gave my shoulder a squeeze and whispered, "Now, just so we're clear, when I hold up my palm, you slap it with yours. You dig?" I winked and said, "Dig? Sorry, I don't have a shovel." Dennis laughed and said, "Dude, you bad." Nobody'd ever called me dude, and I couldn't believe someone telling me I'm bad could feel so good. Shift happens. Within a month of being Dennis Tinsley's main man, I was a new boy. Being around him was a crash course in black culture. Between his gregariousness, hip vernacular, and relaxed playfulness, the onion of my prejudice peeled away. By the end of elementary school, I was totally on board with Grover Cleveland being integrated. Thanks to Dennis and the rad and bad friends he introduced me to, my view of black people did a complete 180. Instead of dark skin triggering hurt and hate and fear, it filled me with hope and humor and faith that no matter our ethnicity, we're all running the same race. Dennis and I both knew we were bound for different junior highs. On our last day of elementary school, I looked in my friend's warm brown eyes. and I saw myself. I saw the dark skin on his face, and instead of antipathy, I felt an affinity. I gifted him an album of gospel music featuring his and pretty much everyone's favorite singer, Aretha Franklin. He gave me a bear hug and handed me a handwritten card with 2 quotations. The first was an African-American proverb as fitting for our friendship as for the third night of Kwanzaa. If you want to travel fast, go alone. If you want to travel far, go together. The second was an apt poem from Langston Hughes, who I later learned was a lover of jazz and blues and a Harlem Renaissance man, if ever there was one. Dennis read the short, soulful verse aloud, and it has been in my brain ever since. My motto, as I live and learn, is to dig and be dug in return. I told him I loved it and that I loved him, and we hugged. Straight through to my freshman year at Penn, Langston Hughes' motto was like my mantra for inclusivity. My friendship with Dennis didn't just pull the plug on my prejudice. It opened the floodgates to my passion for spoken word pieces, soul music, and Soul Train. Get down, Don Cornelius. I know, I'm dating myself. Heck, nobody else is dating me, so why not? Small surprise, my freshman year at Penn, I signed up for a couple courses in the Black Studies department. As the lone white student, I was accustomed to occasional glances of curiosity from my black professors. Most did so discreetly. Harry Jones, Dr. Harry Jones, was different. He looked at me with undisguised suspicion. Dr. J, his sardonic nod to 76ers superstar Julius Erving, was unabashedly militant. The only man I knew before him with a deliberately shaved head was Yul Brynner. Hey, how many speakers can signal their socioeconomic status and their age in a single sentence? He taught a class called Afro-American Art Forms, and he wasn't the only one who eyed me dubiously. The second I sat next to a female student, I was surrounded by menacing looks. Anytime I risked raising my hand to answer a question, everyone seemed to be waiting for the white boy to crack. I started to feel that taking Dr. J's course wasn't so much attending a class as it was walking a gauntlet. Who knew studying about prejudice would include learning how it felt firsthand? The class before Christmas break, Dr. J told us there'd be no need to take notes. Warily, I put away my books and papers. Dr. J picked up an LP, you remember those, and told us we were going to listen to a lengthy selection he regarded as a quintessential example of Afro-American artistry. I figured we were going to hear some avant-garde jazz from John Coltrane, Dizzy Gillespie, or Wilder, Ornette Coleman. Braced for incendiary bebop, the soft, slow opening notes caught me by surprise. I sit back and lean into a gospel piano solo. I close my eyes, and my ears welcome a female singer's powerful voice, Aretha. When the bass, when the bass and drums pick up the tempo, my foot starts tapping on the backbeat, and my neck is rocking in time. Aretha asks, "Are you getting the spirit? Are you feeling the spirit in the dark?" Aretha answers, "People moving. I know you're grooving. Ride, Sally, ride." By the time she sings, put your hands on your hips and let your backbone slip. I'm all out dancing in my chair. Then the Queen of Soul brings out a special guest from backstage and jubilantly declares, I discovered Ray Charles. Hearing Aretha and Ray trade licks and exude what it means to be getting in the spirit in the dark, was about the most fun I'd ever had in a daytime classroom. Now, replicating any resemblance in a church service is a tall order for a short sermon giver. But we're going to do a slight change of plans and ask you to please pick up your hymnal to turn to number 208, and we'll do Every Time I Feel the Spirit, and hope it gets us in the groove. Yes, please stand. That's a lovely idea. Got it, Brian? Number 208? I feel the Spirit in my heart.
I didn't prepare this one, I'm sorry, sir.
Well, we'll all attempt to wing it, and we'll let our imperfection be a hallmark of anything I ever am associated with.
Can you sing the lead for it?
Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Up on the mountain, my God spoke, o'er the mount came fire and smoke. All around me looks so shine, as my God is always mine. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Let's I greatly appreciate your willingness to attempt to adapt and improvise. It's the hallmark of the blues. After the class, we gather up our books. Halfway to the door, I feel a tap and turn. Angela points to Dr. Jones and whispers, "He told me to tell you to stay after class. Sorry." Uh-oh. What white blunder had I committed this time? Dr. Jones motions to take a seat and tells me, "Peck, you're a puzzlement. When they first told me one of my pupils was Caucasian, I thought either they or the student had been sorely misinformed. I mean, what's some white dude want with a class on Afro-American art forms?" I start to answer. Dr. J isn't done. Now, I'll admit, I had concerns you might have motives like appropriation. Wouldn't be the first time. But today, that doubt dissolved like a pat of butter on a flapjack. Son, out of a class of 40, do you know how many students close their eyes during Spirit in the Dark? I shook my head. He shook his and said, "Half dozen tops. And how many you think tap their feet in regular 4/4 time. I'll tell you like 90%, but you, Peck, damn if you weren't one of the few that kept the downbeat. I nodded, hoping this was a good thing. Dr. J shook his head. And my Lord, out of all 40, guess who's the sole one uninhibited enough to start dancing in his chair? You should have seen how your body gave itself over to the beat. That's when I knew you had the spirit in the dark, and black studies is where you belong. I jump up to thank him. He begs me to sit back down and says, "You still a honky, Peck, but now I know you a funky honky." I burst out laughing. To my relief, Dr. J laughs even harder. Then he smiles and says, "I got just 2 last questions for you. Number 1, do you have an academic advisor?" I shake my head. He nods his and tells me, "You do now." Number 2, have you decided on a major? No. He puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Come on, Peck, time to pick a lane." I tell him I'll work on it and walk out with a sweet mix of validation and vindication. Move over the white shadow and the great white hope and make way for the funky white honky. Towards the end of freshman year, I found out from the French department I can do a junior year abroad as a sophomore. I tell Dr. J, he says, "So much for regular academic conventions. Where are they offering to send you abroad?" I tell him Paris. Dr. J raises both palms. I don't know if he's saying hold on or slap him 10. But when he says the city of lights, I opt for the latter. Dr. J grins and says, "Bon voyage. I hope you learn all about French wine, fine art, and finally decide to come back and major in French." Paris was totally incredible, but the Parisians were terribly indifferent. At the end of the semester, I set out for Italy. Surely, Italians would be warmer and more engaging. My first stop was Firenze, which is what the natives call Florence. Strolling back from the Duomo Cathedral along a quaint cobblestone lane, I looked up at a trattoria and saw a jarringly out-of-place Broadway theater-style marquee, listing in bold, totally anachronistic neon lights, "Tonight only, Vic Pitts and the Cheaters, top 40 band from Milwaukee." I figured it was a sign. I mean, what are the odds that an American in Florence gets to hear a top 40 band from Milwaukee? Sure enough, Vic Pitts is a monster drummer. The whole rhythm section is swinging through Sly and the Family Stone and Santana classics. After a medley of Motown hits, the band bursts into "I Feel Good." The lead singer, Omar Dupre, can dance like James Brown and play blues harp like James Cotton. Between his strong vocals and silky smooth spins, my spirit has an epiphany. Feh on fine art and haute cuisine. Give me soul music and slick dance moves any day. The concert concludes with a scintillating Stevie Wonder sonic smorgasbord. Superstition, signed, sealed, delivered. Shooby-dooby-doo-dah-day. And for once in my life, and for once in mine, I added a song title that wasn't alliterative. Afterwards, I gotta tell the guys how great they sounded. Omar's glad I liked their act and grateful that someone's speaking to him in a language he can actually understand. His bandmates seemed to also appreciate running into a fellow American abroad. Vic invites me to join them backstage for some refreshment. I hadn't eaten much dinner, so I was glad to get to go to the green room and have some food. Everyone's sprawled on couches, and I soon see the menu is mainly marijuana with a side of hashish. They've got Cannonball Adderley's Mercy, Mercy, Mercy playing in the background. Omar is working on a new shuffle step and making it look easy. Laverne, the lead guitarist, is spinning a wild story. Everybody is calling each other brother and slapping five. I haven't had a single hit, and I'm sky high. Laverne times the punchline, and Anton, the bass player, says, "That's dope." Benny, the piano player, tells Omar to bust a move. Vic takes a puff from a slender joint and says, "Solid." I'm picking up the slang like an oyster farmer picks out pearls. Cannonball holds a high note. Omar comes up with a new slide. Vic passes me the joint. One toke, and I'm transported to Grover, Cleveland. By the second, it's elementary. I've found my tribe. 3 tokes, and I've got me a new major. Beaming, I tell Vic, "Can you dig it? I'm about to put the white sheep in black studies." Back at Penn, I can't wait to tell Dr. J. When I do, he frowns. I see 2 problems with that plan, Peck. Number 1, Penn doesn't offer a major in African American culture. 2, in case you haven't noticed, you're not a Negro. I implore him, "Dr. Jones, trust me, I only look white. On the inside, I'm black." I punctuated my plea with a slick spin I copped from Omar. Dr. J mimics my words. "I only look white." That's going to end up the title of your autobiography. And I'm supposed to be the fool faculty advisor who authorizes approval for this crazy Caucasian to complete Penn's first ever individualized major in African American culture. Then he surprises me with a mischievous grin and says, "Let's do this." I rush back to my dorm to tell the exciting news to my mom and dad. My parents were so pleased. Especially when halfway through my junior year, during Pledge Week, against all advice, I pledged Penn's only all-black fraternity. Groove, Phi Groove. Who could make this up? The frat initiation council looked me over from head to toe. Curtis, the president, said, "Man, you trying to break the color barrier in reverse? Lord, I done seen me some crazy white boys, but you about to be top of the heap." I looked at him and I said, "I swear to God." Can you say that in the UU church? My skin color isn't what counts. I'm in black studies because jazz and blues, spoken word and dance moves, that's what makes me come alive. The brothers confer. Curtis tells me they're going to make a major exception on one condition. You have to let us give you a nickname. I agree. I rush off to find Dr. J and tell him, against all odds, the brothers let me in, making me, Rob Peck, alias Clorox, the lone Caucasian in Groove Phi Groove history. Epilogue. 7 years after I got my Bachelor of Arts, I got a call from Charles. I braced myself that he was finally going to lay into me. Sorry. For forsaking him in the fisticuffs with Billy Hands. Charles paused. Then he said, "Robert, I've got something important to tell you. I'm getting married, and at the wedding, I'd like you to be my best man." Wow. And phew. Surprise and relief are quickly followed by whoa and WTF, simultaneously highly honored and deeply unworthy. Good thing I was seeing a therapist, and she helped me see self-compassion was the key to greater self-acceptance and self-forgiveness. I finally get it, that even though I can't change the past, I can change how I hold on to it. and start to tell myself a kinder story, one which grants me more understanding and frees me to respond to different races less with a downward eye that casts them as an other and more as people who I can put my arms around and see as a sister or a brother. A grace that helps me see that for all our trespasses, regardless of our skin color, none of us do it on perfect. So now we'll do hymn number 30, Over My Head. And yes, please stand. And Brian, please help us catch up with you by singing a little bit of it. I hear music in the air over my head. I hear music in the air over my head. I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere over my head. I hear singing in the air over my head. I hear singing in the air over my head. I hear singing in the air. There must be a God somewhere over my head. I see trouble in the air over my head. I hear trouble in the air, yeah, over my head. Trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. So my sermon was a chance to ask people who know me and love me to forgive me and support me. It's incredibly healing to feel that this is a safe space that I can do that in. And I hope that same safety and freedom can extend to you, because the second to last part of our service is a chance, if you choose, to share a joy or a concern, something for which you feel really blessed, something that maybe is a burden, but that by sharing, the burden can be halved and the blessing doubled. I'll come around with a mic. Kate, thank you very much for being willing to light the candles.
Thanks. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Yeah, just want to share a joy. I enjoyed your stories. Just want to express my joy for dance and music, which I experienced last night. And for those that were there, hope they had a good time. And that's about it.
Thank you, Aaron. Are you any relation to Aaron?
Yeah. Aaron's our son. I'm Rob Ward. This is my wife Louise. It's my son Aaron. Oh, I'm Rob Ward. This is my wife Louise. My son Aaron. December 28th is today, but 1974 is when Louise and I we hitched our wagons together. So today, we're celebrating our 51st wedding anniversary. And it's kind of nice to do it here, too. But we're going to have a brunch later on. It's been, we got married in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1974. And at the time that we got married, the Beatles were in their heyday. So one of the theme songs that we selected for our wedding was the Beatles song, Here, There, and Everywhere. And the Beatles seemed to follow us for a long time. It's been a long and windy road, but it's ups and downs, mostly ups. The one thing we've learned, or I've learned anyway, is that we do things together, but we also have to do things separately too. We have to do things separately and respect that, and respect our individuality as well as our togetherness. And I think that's one thing that's kept us together for all these years, knowing that. So we'll continue. We continue on. We've had our, like I said, ups and downs, and learned to discuss them. And we'll keep on follow the sun. Because life is, as Beatles said, the song is, life is very short, and there's no time for fussing and fighting. So we will continue to follow the sun. Anyway, thank you.
That's why she married him, also because he could put in 3 or 4 song lyrics into what? And he said, "Do you want me to sing them?" And his wife of 51 years said, "No, please."
So I'm really glad that I got to know something about Rob, more about Rob, and pleased to be here. I used to sing with Amanla in this church, and really nice to be back.
Thank you. Mark is a member of my co-housing community.
My name is Mary Rose. My sidekick from 10 years, I've known him much longer than that, but 10 years ago he brought roses and proposed to me, and I freaked out thinking he wanted to get married, and he just asked me to be a sidekick. He's a Roy Rogers fan. He has been suffering for almost a whole year with the very downside of bipolar, and he has missed all the fun and celebrations for the season. And I just want to ask for your prayers. Peter is his name. And yeah, it's been a tough road, but luckily he is hanging in there. Thank you.
It was 9:30 this morning, and I was checking my emails. I don't do that very regularly, but I was glad I did, because I got an email from Rob inviting me to this, and I saw the word shame, and it was in a church, and that really was drew me in, because my dad was a evangelical minister, and I grew up with a lot of shame, and a lot of it was because of the church and that particular God that that I learned about. And so I'm just really grateful that there's churches that not only talk about shame, but also talk about self-compassion. And that is one of the antidotes I find for shame, is to love myself and believe that, I'm okay. And that God is truly a loving God, not a God that, is shaming us. So grateful to be here in this church. Thank you for inviting me.
So glad to have you. Jake's a member of my men's.
Sorrow and a joy. My 93-year-old mother-in-law, who's in hospice and lives with us, had a TIA yesterday and is more garbled than usual. But she also is still a delight and is in good spirits, so both sides.
I just got the best Christmas present from my son. Oh, sorry. I just got the best Christmas present from my son. World's best grandma. And there's a picture of my granddaughter, who is really lovely. And she's just marvelous. She wears glasses because she has trouble seeing, but they think that it'll improve over time. And she's a fantastic reader. She's in the 2nd grade now, and I have her Christmas present. They're coming up here. I hope it's not a deluge when they're on the train coming up, but we're going to go meet them at the train station. And I have a huge bag of stuff that says, "Merry Christmas!"
Hi, I'm Sandra, and I just want to acknowledge from Rob's sermon how vulnerability is strength, and that our teachers show up in the most surprising places, and that vulnerability is what allows us to learn from these rough waters. Thank you, Rob, for sharing your heart and your story and your courage.
I'm a friend of Rob's from co-housing, and I really want to thank you for sharing that story. And it's what is a pretty difficult time around what racism is doing to us internally, and all of our what once was a country that was about, certainly Rob and I grew up in the same time, and racism was, and many of us did, racism was rampant and embedded in the society. We thought we had put it at least somewhat to sleep, and your ability to share about that is really meaningful in this time, and brings up memories for me. I went to what was an all-white high school that invited 3 young African Americans, and I became good friends with them, but they were always a little bit on the outside of the what was happening, and always felt a little bit separate. And I became best friends with one of them, and I lost him at the end. He went back into his culture, and I felt like he was, injured by being in that white culture. And so I feel that loss today. I feel that loss of him. And thank you for opening that door to that memory.
Bless you for coming. Clay, do we have anybody on Zoom? What's that? Nothing they want to share. Okay, well, thank you, all of you who shared. So it seems apt on many levels that we close with a final hymn of We Shall Overcome. Plus, it's one we probably actually know and can easily sing in public. So it'll have an additional benefit. You'll find it, hymn number 169. We shall overcome someday. Shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall all be free someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall live in peace someday. Nicely played, Brian. The benediction is a mashup. For those of you who don't know what a mashup is, it's a kind of mishmash of a couple of different things all connected. It's a mashup of Dr. Cornel West, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and the godfather of rap, Gil Scott-Heron. Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. Judge a person not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Words are for the mind. Notes are for the soul. Thanks again for being here. We will have a wonderful little postlude, and I'm going to see if I can put all that time in African American studies into playing the blues.
Yeah. So good to have you all here for this great service with Rob. The other good news is that we are going to have a potluck downstairs, and whether you brought something or not, you're welcome. So come on down, even for coffee, lots of desserts and some soups. And also, I just want to say that this tree really warms my heart. It's a mitten tree with hats and scarves and such, and they will go to an elementary school, a couple of elementary schools. So we'll have it up for another couple of weeks if you want to bring a hat or a set of gloves or mittens. Any other announcements? All right. So I do hope you make it down the stairs. I know it's a little bit of a hike, but And there is bathrooms down there too.
And you know, we are connected on so many levels with Stone Soup. And yesterday, we were the beneficiary of an abundance of baked goods. So if you have any kind of a sweet tooth or you are connected to people who have sweet tooths, we have goodies for you. So please feel free to come by. They're all wrapped. If you'd like to take some home with you. I could almost eat all of them, but I can't quite eat all of them. So glad to give some away.